I'm Nick Roush. That's Adam Luckett. This is 11 Personnel presented by Monticello Bank, and we're starting the show with some breaking news. Adam Luckett, Deshaun Watson was just picked off on back-to-back throws at Cleveland Browns training camp. Football, it's back.
The Steelers must not be in town.
Huh. We really doing that? Are we going to start with our AFC North hostilities right away? You already got your great first-round draft pick, Shamar Stewart. He's already – hell, he might be done for the year.
Might be. We'll see. I think we'll be okay.
I love seeing the early training camp news updates, as long as they aren't bad injuries. But it was a good reminder that Deshaun Watson is just back. It's very funny, very amusing to me. That guy, just worst contract in professional sports history.
I mean, Bobby Bonilla is still getting paid by the Mets.
Yeah, but
so that has to be it.
That's like pennies, though, compared to like the guaranteed money that Watson's getting in a sport that they don't give guaranteed money.
At the time, that Bonilla contract was one of the biggest in the major leagues, and he only played like a year, maybe not even 100 games for them, and they're still paying the guy 20 years later or whatever it is. But yeah, I mean, football, that's probably the worst football contract of all time that I can think of. The 201's up there too. I mean, if people forget about the 201, the Russell Wilson one, there's some bad ones, quarterback ones, but yeah, that one's probably the worst.
Oh yeah, the Russell Wilson and Denver one was pretty awful. But it didn't. The way that the Browns were sort of hamstrung by, because in football you've got the salary cap, whereas at least in Bonilla's case, it's like, well, you're just eating money for a long time, but it's not. You're not dead. You know. See, and this is the kind of show I wanted to have today, but we're not going to be able to have it. This is supposed to be like the last lull before it starts. But we got some news to talk about today, and we're here today thanks to our friends at Monticello Bank. Monticello Bank, they've been here for Kentuckians since 1895. They'll be here for you, whatever your financial needs may be. You just need to get a little loan for a car. They're going to get you a good rate. Car, great rate. A little HELOC, a little home equity line of credit, CD, whatever it may be. They're going to put the numbers on your side to get you the best deal possible. They've got locations all across the Commonwealth, and they're conveniently located online at nbcbank.com. Monticello Bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender. Like it, I'm not someone who gives financial advice. I don't know anything about financials, but the one thing I know is if you're going to get a loan, just get it from a local bank. They're going to get you the best rate. Get it from Monticello Bank. Shout out Monticello Bank, longtime presenting sponsors of KSR, and I believe we're going to a Monticello Bank here in a couple of weeks. So maybe y'all can come see about it. Come hang out with us. I believe it's going to be the what's Stoops' neighborhood? The we call that into town
for sales?
No, like off Harrisburg Road. There's that neighborhood there.
That's not
It's not registering for you.
Yeah, that's just not. It's not on my. When I'm in Lexington, that's not the part I'm in. So.
Whatever. We'll get you the details as we get closer. But
Are you talking about where Ryan lives? Where's that? What's the neighborhood?
It's Masterson Station. I'm saying it's
Beaumont. Someone said
Beaumont. There we go. I was going to say DuPont. DuPont is Louisville. DuPont. Yes, I'm pretty sure we're going to be at Beaumont.
Shout out.
We'll get you all those details as we get a little bit closer to it. Going on the road for a couple of shows too in August before football season gets rolling.
We got a busy August. Everyone, I feel like a lot of people think August is like the worst because it's so close but so far away. But we've got a busy month here, both KSR and 11 Personnel. There's stuff like going on each week. So yeah, it's going to be a busy month as we get to kickoff.
And what I found too, like it is, our teacher wives, they're starting to have to do pre-teacher things this week. The hardest part is getting into a new routine. Once you're in it, it's easy. It's just figuring out how exactly it's going to work. There's a lot of friction. And then it's not just transitioning from off season to preseason to full season. Will Stein is also changing how Kentucky did media for the last 13 years. So like press conferences, coaches shows, like all that stuff is going to change. We don't know exactly when or how, but it's going to change. I mean, we're doing media day on a Monday next week, right? Like that's
Typically, that was on Friday for those probably not paying super close attention, right? Yeah. It was Friday Media Day, Saturday Fan Day for the longest time.
And is there going to be a fan day? Still don't know. They haven't announced anything. The last I've heard, they want to do something to get fans out to practice, but they're not exactly sure what that's going to look like. So, there's a lot of new things, a lot of newness. We're trying to figure all of that out. And that is the sort of programming alert before we get to the news of the week, of the day, is that Monday is fan day. So we're going to have a lot of content coverage. I mean, from, press conferences to interviews to even some other stuff that you're just going to have here on the KSR YouTube channel. It's going to be, I'm looking forward to it because I think it'll be optimized. That'll be my sort of, I'll use the business sort of world corporate jargon, but I do think the changes are going to make it better for the viewing audience, the listening audience, whatever it may be. I think y'all are going to enjoy it. So that sort of kind of jumpstart things. Practice is going to start the following Thursday, and then we're off. Then we're off to the races with training camp. But before fall camp begins, Adam Luckett, some surprising news. The week where news that isn't supposed to happen, it happened. Pat Biondo announced his departure abruptly on Tuesday afternoon. To say it came from out of left field would be appropriate, and surprising, shocking, all of the adjectives. In his statement, it was brief. It said, "This is a personal move, and I hope everyone will respect the private nature of such a tough decision. It's been a privilege to work for a great university, wonderful football program, and on behalf of such passionate fans, I want to thank Coach Stein for the opportunity to work with and learn from him." This statement, it did not come from, it was just the UK listserv email. We're blasting it out. We got a statement from UK Athletics, not from Jay Batt, which that was his first day in the job, not from Will Stein. It said, "Football General Manager Pat Biondo has informed us his decision to step down from his role at UK. We respect his choice and the personal considerations behind it. We are grateful for his contributions to our program." We will get to the impact and what we know, but first and foremost, what was your initial response when you saw that hit the wire?
Surprised. Also, got my antenna up that a national person didn't break it.
Yeah.
It's usually how this works.
Mm-hmm.
So what's really going on? That was kind of mine. It's interesting. And then Stein, that wasn't a Stein quote in the release.
Correct.
It was just a general
quote
from the statement from the program.
Right. I think generally we can all be, we're supposed to be skeptical in this profession. We're supposed to ask questions. That's our jobs. It could be on very much face value, some personal, something really bad happened, right? And he just had to step down. But he spent 7 years in front offices for this $500,000 a year job that people just don't walk away from.
Sure.
He was a top 15 paid at his position.
Right. Just think his pay. How much do you think his pay tripled, quadrupled, whatever phrase you want to use from last year at Oregon? Even if he's making Pete Nochta is making $260,000. So at least you would think at least probably doubled.
Yeah.
At least.
Right. It's
yeah.
Pretty steep. And I think the part that, we've had all this talk about general manager as Kentucky sports fans since the sort of creation of this. Matt had to kind of bully Mark Stoops into admitting that Eddie Gran was his general manager, even though he did not have that title. Mark Pope has been asked 1,000 times about general manager, and he says we have a general manager operation, but not a general manager. There's been a ton of talk about it, but Stein was the first one who kind of said that this is a priority in our program.
Mm-hmm.
This is the first hire. He was on the PJ. Right when Peak was at the airport shaking because he didn't have warm clothes and he's trying to film Stein getting off the plane, Pat Biondo is with him. They go to Rupp Arena and bring recruits. Pat Biondo is with him. Behind the scenes, people say like I don't know who this Pat Biondo guy is, but he has a say in everything, right? Like if Stein makes a decision, like they were working in lockstep, and Biondo wouldn't do interviews publicly. Like he wasn't trying to be a face. He was just trying to be the guy that really supported Stein in every way imaginable, particularly from personnel issues. And I think Stein trusted him. Is that fair to say? Stein trusted him, and he was his right-hand man.
Seemed that way, yeah.
So for this to happen a week before the start of fall camp, whoa. I believe the quote last week from Stein was that we're going to face adversity and we will refuse to be soft-minded about it. Well, we have our first bit of adversity here.
Yeah, it's just the timing's weird. Like, it just is. Like, this is a weird time for this to happen. To me, Nick, if for UK, if they were just going to news drop this, it feels like a Friday at 5, something you just drop over the weekend, right?
Mm-hmm.
They dropped it on Tuesday
at 4:00. Yeah.
So, yeah, you have to wonder, like, what just happened? Like, did something just happen out of the blue?
Well, it was Jay Batt's first day. I mean, I don't know if he came storming in the office and said, my first order of business is firing my football coach's GM. That seems outlandish, but we don't know. We have no idea. We're just trying to connect things. The one thing I can tell you is that the people in that program were just like many of them were just as surprised as you and I. So it came out of nowhere.
I could be proven wrong. It's happened before. But I don't think this is he's taking another job situation. Like, part of the reason I think it's something probably unique is, again, that no national person reported this, that UK just sent out a release. That's not how it works.
Protocol, right?
Yeah. So, like, what's going on? But we don't know.
Nope, we don't know.
I wrote something today at KSR Plus. Go and check it out. It's kind of just setting the stage for, like, what the GM is, who's in the front office, what they're doing, what's ahead, what the calendar looks like. So I go and check that out. But, like, it's a dead period right now. Most of the 2027 stuff is done. 2028, 2029 contact visits are being scheduled right now, but kids can't visit and coaches can't go on the road right now until we get to September. So it's not like the end of the world, but, like, from my knowledge,
slow part of the year for his job.
Yes, right? This is the slowest. I would say this is his slowest part of the calendar. I think. What do we say? Like football, what's the slowest time? Like May for us. The slowest time is like maybe like February, May. Mm-hmm. That's what it's like for him. This is the slowest time of the year from the personnel side, but there's always stuff to do. And from my understanding, Biondo was right. He was in Stein's hip pocket about everything. Like, he was very much a part of the brain trust when it comes to decision makings, but, like, agent relations, negotiations at the table, payroll, budget. Like, I think these were all things he had a heavy hand in. And I'm not so sure about, like, the scouting side, but I do think when it came down to, like, we want this player, we've got, all right, or this position, we've got $100 pot, but we can only spend $17 on linebacker or whatever. I think that's what he was doing. So, like, that's an important job. Mm-hmm. And I think what you saw in the first few months, they had a process. They stuck to that process, and I think it worked out well for them in a lot of situations. They pivoted at good times to pivot, I thought. And then at negotiation table, I think there were a couple instances where player, like, they sat on their bid essentially, and they lost some on that, but I think some came around to them, and then they were willing to up the ante too when they felt like they had a guy that was worth upping the ante on. So that obviously that's a huge job. He's getting paid $500,000 for a reason. So,
I mean, Stein was on the SEC network talking about why his general managers were listed ahead of his coordinators on the roster.
Right. That was just a week ago.
Yeah. Which is it's remarkable. It truly is. And I think that's the other part that's tough about this is that we are so in the dark. I think everybody kind of is. And like, we're not going to sit here and postulate, just throw a bunch of conjecture out there. But the one thing we do know is that Pete Nochta is going to be the interim acting, or is it interim or interim? GM?
Interim general manager.
Okay.
He was the assistant general manager before this.
Correct. He obviously had a ton of experience in a similar director of recruiting role at U of L. So he's going to be keeping the ship steady, like you said, during this slow period of time. I also think it's noteworthy that Jarrett McElwain is the director of player personnel. He would be the other sort of big wig in the front office department. Who
more on the scouting side, I would say.
Correct. He started his career with Saban, his dad's Jim. I believe Jim was there maybe at the time in that Saban coaching rehab program.
His dad was a receivers coach for Harbaugh at Michigan before he went to Central Michigan.
Okay. And then, so in college with Saban, and then he goes to Michigan with Harbaugh, stayed with Harbaugh for a while, and then linked up with DeBoer at Washington, was there for 2 years and just joined science staff. So that's kind of who is in the room right now, along with I think the word Stein used, a bunch of minions who are just scouting tape. It's a lot of student assistants, right, that sort of help them out, along with, your support personnel like Aaron. Oh, I can't think
Aaron
of
Love.
Aaron Love. Yeah, she was the one who started the Portal House at Tulsa. Like, there's a lot of people in that role, but those are the sort of two big wigs right now. If Stein wants to go and find a replacement, an actual GM, he could simply elect to promote Nochta. I kind of tend to think he will do the former because he has time to do it. October is probably like, I don't know if he'll feel like the need that he has to do it right away, but October is when your tampering starts, right? That's when the phone calls from agents are definitely being made, and you kind of have to have a portal plan in place. I would imagine in November, when the calendar turns, they start having meetings with their own players to kind of see from a retention standpoint where people's heads are. But I would just that's my best guess on when you need to make sure that you've got your permanent replacement in done.
Yeah. To me, Nick, the GM role in college football is it's very unique in what you're trying to do and who you're trying to hire. Every school has like a different set of rules and regulations. Like, I think
different definition, basically.
Yeah.
Different job title. Yeah.
So what are they looking for? If they're looking for another, like, what would kind of be a guy who can help with negotiations, agent relations, and be kind of your capologist, I guess, for lack of a better word. Where do you go? Would you look, would you look to an NFL guy? I mean, that's what a lot of people are doing. Dave Caldwell with the Florida Gators, a former Jags GM, worked in the Eagles front office a long time. Jim Nagy, obviously, ran the Senior Bowl, was a scout before that. See Oklahoma. General manager, and there's a few of Christian Sarkisian was one of the Bengals head scouts. He's the Northwestern general manager. So would you look at someone like Champ Kelly, like the Kentucky guy we've talked about before? Would you look at something like that? Would Stein look at like something like that, or does he want someone that's more college focused because it's
different? It's
the same, but it's different, right? Yeah. Like, it's the same, but it's different when kind of what you're looking for. And we don't have a ton of transparency on what, like, even Pat Biondo did.
Yeah. I mean, we never publicly heard him spoke. I mean, you might have ran into him at a game or something like that. And
all we have really is Stein had a sit down with the Athletic just talking about his build. And he talked about, basically he kind of called Biondo his chief of staff. He's with me every step of the way. He knows how I like our operations run. Like, we need this, this, and this. He's a confidant, he called him. He provides me with great ease, and I can just know that I can sleep really well at night with Pat leading the charge. Also told the Athletic also reported, this wasn't a quote at the end, but they also reported that, he's the one kind of like dealing with player compensation. Sort of, what does that mean? To me, it's like you got to assign a dollar value to a player. So,
well, and then
this player is worth $50,000, or this player is worth, or 8% of our cap, or whatever you assign a dollar value to a player, and then you try to get that player you want to get them under that dollar value, but you don't want to pay over. And so he was that, and then agent relations was the other thing that came out there, and then let me see here,
the other
and
point,
then just negotiations too. Yeah,
on the player compensation is kind of get back. We don't like spending a lot of time on it because it's nauseating, but just where the money's coming from, right? Is it coming from the rev share? Is it coming from JMI and their in-house NIL? And then how much of that is cleared through the CSE or not, right?
Right. How are they assigning those rev share dollars versus circumventing the cap through JMI bundled deals?
Right.
And
are they getting cleared? That's the part that was a huge deal with like Nebraska and a couple others where they had arbitrators saying like, no, actually you can't get this deal cleared. So like, are you jumping through all of the right hoops to get through all of the loopholes?
The Nebraska thing was more just them
bundling too much.
Yes, being lazy, for lack of a better term. Like, instead of just being like, all right, send in a bunch of singles, they tried to do it all on, here's the 30 guys that are going to get paid by this dummy corp or whatever. So they just were like, no, you can't do that. We're not going to allow you to just do it that way. But we don't know much about that. I guess we'll find out as the year. But you're right, Nick. You're right. We know they've got a rev share figure, which they can pay. That goes directly to the player. There's nothing that player has to do for that money. Like, if Kentucky decides, I want to pay John Quarterback $1 million straight in his pocket, he's getting $1 million check, or however they decide to split it, to divide the payments over their fiscal year. But we don't know, like where the CSC, not the CSC, but the circumventing the cap, the NIL money from JMI. Like, how does that go? That's part of Biondo's job and what he has to do in managing a budget. And that'll be new guy's job, whoever that is.
Yeah. What I think is also fascinating about this news is there's where it strikes a chord. Because some might see this as a nothing burger, which it very may well could be. Whereas others, there's a very much, man, this could be really bad. And I don't really know. I don't know. He also wasn't here very long, long enough to truly get a good idea too. I mean, I tend to think he was generally respected amongst his peers, and we liked what he did initially, and Stein certainly thought highly of him. So you think this is a pretty big loss, but is it though? Well, time will tell, but it is certainly the first surprising bit of news. And, the first of all of the boxes that Stein has checked that are good, this is the first one. It's like, this is not supposed to happen, right? This is not how you're supposed to kick off a football season.
Well, they've had a few departures, but this is the first one that really made noise, right? Yeah. Like, Derek Wareheim was brought in. He worked with Stein at Texas, assistant OL coach. I think he was just kind of in between jobs because Coastal Carolina had a coaching change. He ends up being the second or third O-line coach with the Vikings after being here a couple months. And then Chad Wilt,
no idea what
Jay Bateman was Michigan State's linebackers coach last year. He was hired to be a non-recruiting linebackers coach here, which basically what that means, you can basically, guys like Vince Marrow in GM roles can go out and recruit if you want them to, but you have to
take somebody off the road,
take somebody off. And so he was that. And so I don't know what happened there. So now Dylan Sanders, who used to be here as the non-recruiting linebackers, on the road recruiting linebackers coach for Kentucky now. And so he left, and then now this one. So there has been some, and there's been some other people that have left, Ty Williams was in the recruiting department. He's now the director of recruiting at Kansas. It sounded like that was a step up for him.
Oh, okay.
Potentially. But then Danielle Braswell, who was basically had Aaron Love's job.
Yeah.
She went to Alabama, but it sounded like that was Kentucky moving on.
Right.
So there's been some departures. Now how many of them were like two-way, one-way? What one-way were they? Up for the debate, but it's not like this isn't the first person Stein has hired to have leave. When I mentioned like Williams and Braswell were retained from the recruiting department.
But this is the first one where they're doing a behind-the-scenes documentary of spring practice, and Stein is starting his day talking to Pat Biondo.
That's the thing. Like he was sitting in the craft seats at Rupp Arena with Stein and Stein's wife at the Kentucky-North Carolina game. Came with him from Oregon. I don't think he ever went back to Oregon after he got off the plane.
Yeah. You very much got the sort of Vince Merrill, Mark Stoops. You don't have one without the other sort of vibes. So what happens without the other? It remains to be seen. We'll hear Stein on Monday. I anticipate, just knowing how Stein is going to take a sort of Kirby Smart media approach, that they will do their best to just diminish this and move on as quickly as possible. So if you're looking for a reason why this happened, what exactly happened, we may never know. I know Luckett and I, we're going to hear some stuff. We're going to try to find out, but that very may well be the case where it's just kind of it happened, we're moving on. So we'll see. I did, before we move on, I want to shout out to the sports talker, TJ Walker, for bringing up the name Aaron Knotts, who, I mean, this could be the funniest thing ever, but just throwing names out. Aaron Knotts was Adam Luckett's fullback.
Adam Luckett blocked for Aaron Knotts.
And now he is the GM at Arizona. Mm-hmm. It's not just that. It's that he worked with McElwain at Washington, and he also worked with Nochta and Stein and Justin Burke and Colby Smith at U of L back in 2013. So, when Luckett's making his hot boards and he's looking for guys who have previous work experience, this guy checks all the boxes.
Yep. I said this on the board today. 2007 to 2009, Adam Luckett would just be like, if I came back, if 2026 Adam Luckett, wrote a letter to 2009 Adam Luckett sitting in the college house in Lexington, he would just be flabbergasted. Not necessarily of my career, but more so of just what I'm covering and who I'm covering potentially, which would be we're living in a simulation, Nick. It's just become like our whole ecosystem is just become our jobs now potentially. So it's
the Catholic school, the Louisville Catholic school circles have grown up to
it's just a KHSAA takeover. Kentucky football realm is just being bombarded with KHSAA. See, really, I should not KHSAA, CSAA. CSAA is just totally CSAA is totally taking over the Kentucky football.
Shout out to Tommy Wachtel, CSAAfootball.com.
Oh yeah,
he was making spreads for middle school football games back in the early internet days. Good times.
When his site first started, that was like you would have thought that was the greatest invention ever. People were talking about it nonstop.
I mean, they were printing out pages, coaches were. They picked us to lose for pregame hype speeches.
Yeah, that was
good stuff.
That was wild time.
Oh man! All right. Well, I think that this is a good point to stop, collect ourselves, move on to the next bit of news at hand. Which, on a normal day, if this normal week, what we would be leading off the show would be what Will Stein said at the Lexington kickoff luncheon, because we're in kind of speaking mode season, right? He spoke with the Rotary Club a couple weeks ago. We get the Lexington kickoff luncheon. I want to say there's one more. Is the Lions Club? Maybe it's the Lions Club. There's a Louisville kickoff luncheon at Churchill Downs, which is game week where he'll do. It's either game week or the week before, but that's later in August. But the talking season, hanging out with Tom Leach, and sort of dishing about the team that happened on Monday. Luckett, what was on the menu at the? Did we get the stuffed chicken breast with the green beans and mashed potatoes?
It was like a chicken with a leg, like a rotisserie chicken with a leg on it.
Okay,
Not bad.
Well,
Some type
that's
of,
usually pretty bland, though. You know,
it was actually all right. It had some good flavor to it.
Okay.
Some. I don't know if I would order it on a restaurant, but like, I'm trying to think. The salad was pretty good.
Oh man, today's National Chicken Wing Day, and just people talking about wings on the board. I know Wednesday is not a let's eat out tonight, honey, sort of night, but I think it might have to be. Like I've all the wing talk has got me going.
Got you fired up.
Yeah. I digress though. Kickoff luncheon.
They had like a little like a what looked like a you know how an espresso martini comes in a glass and how it looks.
Right.
They had that something that looked like that, but it was like pudding.
Okay.
Cake in it. So like that was good. And so that was new. We got to sit down and eat, which is the first. You know, the worst was at Lexington's not too bad because we have tables back there.
Right.
In the Keeneland suite or whatever it is. Churchill's the worst. Because they stuck us back there. There's no tables. We're just kind of standing there.
On like a little high rise with the TV people.
Right.
The Louisville TV people too, who we never see. So you don't really know them that well.
Mm-hmm.
So it makes it kind of awkward. But I'm glad you were well fed, and I'm glad that Stein isn't going to make us guess about who's going to be playing on the offensive line.
I thought they were. So yeah, I thought they were. That was nice. That was a nice development that he went. And it was interesting how he did that, Nick, but then on some other offensive positions, just not taking the bait. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and that might tell you what he thinks about his offensive line. The confidence that he has in them as a unit. That, okay, I can highlight these guys individually because I know collectively they're going to be good. And also, it's also a position you don't talk about a lot once the season gets started and once they're bad. So I'm glad. And the clarity which we're referring to is that Malachi Wood, right tackle, Olas Allen, right guard. Mm-hmm. Those were the guys who.
And Tegra being confirmed left guard.
Right. He played right guard at Ohio State. There was some whispers during spring that he was playing left guard. And like they were saying it in interviews, but it was like, or is that a slip of the tongue? Or is this just the blue-white stuff where they're moving people around? You don't really know. But they essentially solidified that. And just answering that question, because Olas has some positional versatility. He played both tackle and guard at Alabama. You know, he's a big guard, but kind of a small tackle. So I think the hope always was that Malachi would develop into this starting right tackle, but he kind of got thrown into the fire a little early. You didn't really know. He's bigger than shit. For the lack of, he is. You see that guy in person, and you're just like, gosh, that guy's enormous. You want it to work out, but
it's not as good as when you talk about Henry Boyer. I will say that
big son bitch. But like, I remember seeing Malachi Wood camping, and he just had is this guy? He looks a little stiff, and he's a little thin. Can he fill in? He's done all of that correctly, but has he developed as a player? You didn't know. And Stein saying Malachi Wood, we believe in him. I don't remember the exact quote, Luckett, and having Olas there at right guard, it gives me a lot of confidence about the offensive line, that development.
Yeah, I think it was just good to know what they're doing. I think they're going they're putting strength on strength, right? They're putting their best together.
Mm-hmm.
And then their weak side is going to be the right side, and we'll see how they developed. I think Alinen, he's only played 70 snaps. He's the most inexperienced of the group. Malachi's played more than him. The thing with Malachi that's interesting, he's kind of forced to start in 2024, right? The Gerald Mincey experience didn't go well for Kentucky.
No.
So he's kind of forced to start, and he was not ready in 2024. And he was playing against some, like Colin Simmons and some of them Auburn rushers. Like he was playing against some dudes, and he struggled. He just struggled. So Kentucky, he was basically Kentucky's swing tackle last year, but we never saw him because Shiaz Pete and Alex Wolfslager literally played every snap. Like literally played every snap. The only time Wood really played last year was kind of as like third tackle, like the jumbo tight end in short yardage offense. That's really the only time he played. So we really just didn't see him at all last year. We heard good things from the old staff that he was coming along, but we just didn't really get to see it. This year, it's interesting that I think he's kind of won this job outright, even before getting to fall camp, because they essentially they got UTEP transfer Mark Robinson, I feel like, I think they added him thinking he would start or had a good chance to start.
Or at least compete. Yeah.
So Wood has beaten him out, which that's at least something there. Now we'll see what it looks like, but that's where I think everyone's going to be watching, specifically against Alabama. Alabama's got a really good edge rusher in Jan Pierre. They're going to try to get him one-on-one with Malachi. I have a feeling we're going to find out where he's at.
This goes back to what we discussed about last week in Tampa about DeMarcus Gardner, where if you have answers from recruiting, that's just it alleviates so much, particularly on this offensive line that is, gone from a strength to a weakness to kind of you're putting it together with bubblegum, right? And they spent big to get vets, but you can only get so many of them. So they've got three guys who played well together. You can run it behind them. What about the other side? You can see it. You can see it how it comes to be, and it's going to be a matter of putting it into practice. And the other thing too, and I don't know if we ever discussed this part of it. Glad they're not trying to get us with that blue-white team thing, right? I can buy into it during spring practice. Fall camp, no. Your best need to be playing together, figuring it out.
Sure.
So glad they're not going to be messing around with that. Were there any other enlightening moments from Will Stein's chat at the kickoff luncheon, which if you want to go watch it, Peak has uploaded the entire thing to the KSR YouTube channel.
When Stein talked about the running back position, he said they were experienced. You know who else said that anytime someone came up at this time last year?
Who?
Mark Stoops. Whenever Zach Calzada came up this time last year.
What do you like about him? Well, he's experienced.
So that jumped out to me. They just added 2 junior college guys.
Mm-hmm.
The thing about this running back room is they have 3 guys who have played and have had good moments. Well, 2 of them in SEC play. Another one was like on a college football playoff team with CJ Baxter. Like he was good against.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah. So you have 3 guys that have proven it on this level, but you don't feels like flaws or weaknesses with all of them. And so just where are they at that position? I'm fascinated to see just how they handle it and what it looks like this year. That was interesting. I thought he was a little more, he was kind of the same on receiver, but I think it feels like they feel more confident receiver to me. But we'll have to wait and see how that shakes out. They weren't going to add JUCO receivers. So
Yeah. And I think there's also something to the nature of the receiver position of the sort of day-to-day, right? Where, a guy may not have the big plays that day, but the ball also might just not find him. So you kind of need a larger sample size to be able to evaluate. And on top of that, Nick Anderson, I don't think he did anything during the spring. I don't think people realize, I forgot this too, that he got hurt at the end of last year as well. Like didn't play the last 3 or 4 games.
That's right.
Season. So something to know. You mentioned Calzada. I did not realize that we had NFL Europe team still around until he signed with the Frankfurt Galaxy. So NFL Europe hasn't been around for almost 20 years, but they started playing American football back over there a couple I don't know, 2021 or so. And so Zach Calzada, they signed him ahead of a playoff push like it, which, good for him. Gonna help the Galaxy make the Final Four of the European Football Alliance or something like that. I'm not.
Nick,
Whatever.
do you play Immaculate Grid? Have you ever messed around with that?
I'm aware of it, but I do not play with it. No.
But you know the gist of it.
Correct.
So, like, if they had a college version of this,
yes, where it's all the different teams.
Yeah, like Calzada would be a good one. Like, especially like 5 years, because no
Auburn,
one's going to remember.
Kentucky, Incarnate Word. You mix Cam Ward in there with the Incarnate Word stuff.
Yeah, he's a good one.
Yeah,
he's an Immaculate Grid star.
Speaking of immaculate, it's going to be immaculate whenever we are back to making bets on BetMGM. I know it's the summertime, but hey, there's still baseball out there. Football's right around the corner. There's futures around. Why don't you go ahead and place those future bets now with BetMGM? Download the app today and use bonus code ON3. And when you sign up, you're going to get a not a bonus token, a sign-up token that's first bet bonus. There's the word I was looking for. See, I was thinking of the 50% off you get annual On3 subscription. You get that too, but you also get a first bet bonus up to $1,500 back. So if your first bet doesn't hit, you're going to get it all back in bonus bets at BetMGM. So go ahead, download the BetMGM app today. Use that code ON3. Lock it in. Get ready for college football season with BetMGM. Make it legendary with BetMGM. See BetMGM.com for terms. 21 plus only. U.S. promotional offers not available in New York, Nevada, Ontario, or Puerto Rico. Got a gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER in the U.S. Call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY New York. Their first bet offers for new customers only, subject to eligibility requirements. Rewards are non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire in 7 days in partnership with Kansas Crossing Casino and Hotel. All right, Mr. Luckett. Let's see. What did we finished media days? We got back. Kentucky got picked 14th. Willie Rodriguez and Lance Hurd were the only two preseason All-SEC selections. Adam Luckett, what did the media get wrong about Kentucky during that week in Tampa?
There was not. First, I started off this. I get why people are wanting to pick Kentucky at the bottom. 100% understand it. New era, new players, first-time head coach, two coordinators, Nick, that the league, like people around the league that we talk to, are just down on, for lack of a better word. They're just down on because of what happened at LSU and because Bateman had the weird kind of, was he calling plays? Was he not calling plays? And what happened in North Carolina? So I get why people are doing it. I just think personally, when Kentucky is brought up, I don't think people are paying close enough attention to like this track record Stein has at QB. No. I think if Will Stein was the head coach at Auburn, I think if Will Stein was the head coach at South Carolina, I think if he was the head coach at a lot of these schools, this would just be like, well, they're going to be good on offense right away. There wasn't enough talk about that. I'm about to pull up something here, and this is 5 consecutive seasons, and I'm putting this in Kentucky. This is essentially, you would have had Andre Woodson for 5 years in a row at Kentucky. This is what Stein has done offensively. Every completion rate at 70%, essentially 69.6 is the lowest. Every passer is over 3,500 yards. Everyone's over 8.5 yards per attempt. Everyone's gotten to at least 32 total touchdowns, and all these guys bring some level of run element to the table. Frank Harris, 4,063 passing yards, 41 total touchdowns, 749 sack rushing yards. Bo Nix, 77.4% completion rate, ridiculous. 4,500 passing yards, 9.6 yards per attempt, 51 total touchdowns. Dylan Gabriel, 72.9, 3,800 passing yards, 37 total touchdowns. Dante Moore, 72% completion rate, 3,500 passing yards, 32 total touchdowns. Nick, there was not a there was not a quarterback who reached 30 passing touchdowns in the league last year. No one passed for 4,000 yards. When Joe Sloan was at LSU, we know last year was just a total train wreck, but like Garrett Nussmeier threw for over 4,000 yards in 2024.
Jane Daniels, pretty good when he was his quarterback coach.
So I really do. I get some of why like the national perception is Kentucky, but if you just get those averages, which your average would be like 3,400 yards, 36, 37 touchdowns,
be the best passing season
400 non-sack rushing yards.
Yeah, not even close.
This is what Kentucky signed up for. Is that? So, like, to me, remember last year, Nick, my big saying going in the year, really, it comes down to 2 games. Ole Miss, South Carolina. If they win 1, I think they probably have a good year. Win 2, you might have a great year. Win 0, it's going to be tough to survive.
Well, didn't survive.
And that ended up, they almost did it, by God. But they almost turned it around, but they didn't. To me, this season, it's all about Minchie. If he produces numbers like that, he's like one of the top 3-4 quarterbacks in the league. And if you got a guy like that, unless the rest of your team just stinks, like you have an Arkansas situation like last year, where where it was like one of the worst defenses in recent SEC history. Unless you have something like that, like this team is going to win football games. That's what I keep coming back to. I know I get some of the skepticism, but if they get that out of the quarterback position, newsflash, they're probably not going to lose more games than they win.
When they released the SEC teams, I kind of put together a list of players who, hey, these guys got overlooked now, but will be in the conversation. Could be in postseason All SEC honors. It's a pretty talented quarterback league this year with Chambliss and Arch at the top. But, you got like guys like Mateer and Gunnar Stockton who kind of have this, like, I don't know about him. And then what's Golish going to do with Byron Brown? How's that leveling up going to work at Auburn after putting up some pretty crazy numbers at USF? But there's a world where, similar to Will Rogers under Mike Leach, where this guy just puts up insane numbers that you have to respect. There's a world where that happens with the quick game that they're going to run with Minchie. His mobility, his ability to extend plays. I think that's the part that maybe doesn't get talked enough about Minchie too, is he's a pretty damn good athlete as well. And so when if he just has enough tools, then I think asking for comparable numbers not only should be, it's not just crazy talk, like it should be kind of the expectation. Mm-hmm. That's what, if you kind of expect even though they retained a lot of the defense, you expect the defense to slide back some, but the offense should be light years ahead of what we grew accustomed to under Mark Stoops.
You would think so.
I think the overall bigger question, though, it goes back to conversations with, like when we talk with Brooks Austin and, if you see some of these sort of in-depth analysis, you look at the national champions in recent years that have been defensive-oriented teams. Is defense catching up to offense? I think that's sort of the bigger question, right? It's just like college football in general. Can you win big going this way? Doing these sort of we're gonna smash the offensive button. I think that's a question for another day. I think if you can win 8 by doing the offensive way, then sign me up for that. I think most fans would sign up for that, especially after doing the defensive thing and kind of smashing your head on the wall for so long. It's time to give the offense a try.
Yeah, I agree with some of that, but also I do agree with defenses are ahead in football right now. I think the rule changes has helped out, but I also think they just figured out okay, these guys are faster than us. We've got to get faster people, and we got to teach them how to play these specific positions. And I think they've done that, and I think they've understood kind of if you don't give up the explosives, we just got to give we can't give those up. If we don't, if we'll be fine if we just take care of those. Mm-hmm. So I do think there's So that has all come back around a little bit, and I think the spread and tempo and the gas pedal stuff, for the most part, has kind of gone away. But I also think, like, you got to have a good quarterback.
Yeah.
Like, you've got to be able to have a system where a quarterback can thrive and have success in an offense. That was ultimately why Kentucky, the last era, failed. Like, that was ultimately it.
In spite of poor quarterback play.
That's ultimately why that didn't work. So, like, you've got to have a good system in place. You can't just be just all defense first and then figure out offense. So that, I think that's important to remember. You know, Kentucky's doing this, and part of the reason Stein was available to them, in my opinion, was because of that, right? And I think head coaching experience has been kind of a huge thing that everyone, like all these teams that search for coaches this offseason, Nick, they all wanted, all these power conference teams, they all wanted guys with coaching experience.
Correct.
So Kentucky was able to go pick off someone where in another world or in a few more years, it might have been harder to, there would have been more competition for Stein to get him. So I think all of that adds up. Kentucky's zigging while everyone's zagging a little bit, but I think it's a good spot for them to zig. And again, back to those names I just showed. This guy hasn't missed. He has not missed at quarterback. Like, he hasn't. And so, like, if that keeps happening, and Kentucky is entering every year where they might have one of the better quarterbacks in the SEC, I'll take my chances. Like, let's see what happens there, right? Especially with the way they're kind of recruiting because back when they had the quarterbacks, Nick, they were recruiting at like a sub 50 level. Now they're recruiting at a top 25 level. I want to see what that looks like. So sign me up.
I'll take it. Kentucky did add another quarterback to the room. He's a walk-on. I don't think we need to break down Will Drakeford Jr.'s tape, but put up some decent numbers. Had an undefeated season in Maryland. You need to know his brother's name though, Ryan Drakeford. You're younger, safety. He's a top recruiting target coming up next year. So something to keep in mind there. We're getting towards the end of the show, but I did want to just say that talking season, this is kind of the lull for us, but Big Ten, it's Big Ten media days right now. And, we had the Bielema taking shots at the SEC, which it's always rich coming from him because, buddy, you stunk in the SEC. So, like, you couldn't just do your Big Ten West football in the SEC and it didn't work. But, I like Bielema. He's a lot of fun. He's a big personality. PJ Fleck he's a personality, but he is a nuisance of a personality. I mean, he's their Shane Beamer, right? I mean, except in a different way. Whereas, like, I don't even think the media likes him, but he does all of this. He said that they're saying this year is e pluribus unum for their team, and then everybody got a $1 bill and a quarter so they could carry it with them all year long. What? You trying to be in America 250, brother? And then the other part too, he did the Lane Kiffin filibuster, but like nobody was that because he was afraid nobody was going to ask him questions. I mean, he answered 2 questions in his main stage appearance. 2, only 2. It's insane, absolutely insane. That guy.
Yeah, he's an acquired taste, but like that's part of the reason he's worked at Minnesota. I would be my guess, but yeah, he's I know a lot of people don't like him. In the league. I know he doesn't have a ton of fans. Yeah. And he's he's the kind of guy I wonder what it would be like to cover him.
I could see him getting
because he's a lightning bolt anytime I see it, like, from afar. But like, is he like that
on a day-to-day basis?
Right. Yeah. Is he just like, just the Energizer Bunny every day?
Well, and is he overly sensitive too? Because he seems like a control freak who wants messaging to be a certain way. If you say something one way, does he? Well, you didn't row the boat, Sky Uma. Go Gophers. Like, I don't know. One of the funnier things I saw from media days that won't get a ton of play, but it was just our Purdue site did a article with Mike Bobinski, who's the outgoing athletic director of Purdue, who said that they need to have somebody somebody creative in this new era. And I was like, oh, really? At Purdue? I'm like, no duh. I mean, that guy, long time for a lot of mediocre football out there, but I guess, Matt Painter's doing fine, so their fan base is mostly happy. Seeing Fitzgerald wearing the Michigan State green, but not picking Michigan State green colors, that was unusual.
Mm-hmm.
His AD's gone already, and he's at Kentucky, which I guess he's going to KSR tomorrow. So
He is.
Yeah, going to hear from him tomorrow. But just Fitzgerald back in Big Ten football, it feels right. But even though I don't think it will work out all that well,
can he work in this era?
Because it was not going very well for him there towards the end. There's a lot of Stoops in Fitzgerald, a lot of similarities there.
Did you wonder if he didn't get in trouble if he would have gotten if it would have got super awkward there if they kept pumping out the results they were pumping out?
Yeah, and with the new stadium too. I'm sure the Northwestern donors were on board with Fitzy, but if he was back to 5-7, 6-6, 4-8, would they have tolerated that before this new stadium? I don't know. Which the new stadium does look sick.
Yeah.
So you're getting this weird deal where Northwestern's showing off its stadium to all the national reporters right now. So that's kind of odd. And then the fact that just Barstool, their whole operation's there, and Big Ten Media Days is in Chicago. So, instead of getting the SEC network sort of car wash, you're getting the Barstool Fox car wash and the Cover 3 podcast. It's just it's fascinating to watch it unfold from afar.
Everyone's got they've got their alliances, right?
Yeah. Which, man, I want to the Cover 3 guys, but gosh, just I get it. It's probably good for business to be the Big Ten podcast that rivals the SEC, but man, you don't have to keep those swords up all the time, guys. You really don't.
Yeah, it's interesting how it's become you're either on the Big Ten or the SEC side.
Yeah, and meanwhile, just the shenanigans with Capitol Hill, I'm just that was never. I'm glad that when that came out on the first day, and everybody's like, it's bipartisan bill. I'm glad that we let everybody know from the jump that it was just nonsense. Nothing was going to happen, because that's what's going to happen. Nothing's going to happen.
The problem with this bill is they don't have enough time because there is some hemming and hawing back and forth.
Yeah.
And they just don't have enough time with this. Now, from my understanding, Cody Campbell was pretty heavily involved with Cruz on this.
And that's where they went wrong, is they went with Cody Campbell instead of the Big Ten and SEC.
And you can't have it without the Big Ten and SEC. So, they all needed to meet in the middle, and they just didn't do it. Now, one thing is interesting, Nick. Tommy Tuberville has a bill proposal, and I haven't researched it all. It's on my list of things to do. But basically, it's very limited, and it just has 5 or 6 things, but it will give them some protection.
Yeah.
I wonder if they'll at the last minute just pivot to that and see if they can get that passed. I know some national guys have talked about it. I think Andy Staples has talked about that. A bunch of people have brought that up as maybe an option, but I don't know if that'll even happen. But that would at least give them, from my understanding, and I just going off what I've heard people say, is that it would buy them some time to actually get something else passed if they would do it. But I don't know if they'll do it. So
you mean to say that they're going to kick the can down the road again? This sport never kicking the can down the road.
I think I honestly with this, I think there's going to be a last minute push to try to get it done. Yeah. I really do think that, because this is the last. They can't really come back and do this again. They have spent so much money trying to get this done. They have spent so much time flying to DC, trying to figure out a way to do this. It's a really bad look if they you spent all this time and money and resources. You're complaining you're complaining about all this stuff and all, this is not sustainable. But at this time, if you just spent this time maybe trying to figure out a CBA, you probably could have figured it out by now. but they haven't. So like, what is the next move if this doesn't pass? That's why I think like you could see them like, all right, it's fourth quarter, we're down 8, but we've got the football. Let's try to put a 2-minute drive together, see if we can get something done at the last minute. But it's all going to go down here in August. Like they have to get it done in August. So like, we're at the end of the rope here.
Meanwhile, the NCAA is suspending Arian Carter for $400 flight to a draft workout, which it's just it goes back to the CSE thing we discussed earlier. Agent didn't know that he had to just make Arian Carter pay for it instead of the other way around. Agent got fired. Another Tennessee star linebacker got suspended for 2 games, which is just wild. He's getting paid hundreds of thousands of dollars to play college football and is getting suspended for a $400 flight. Just insane that that's happening now. I'm disappointed, Peak. You left us early. We were going to have a full TBT preview. Had another TBT game day, and he's not here to give us our TBT preview. Is it bad luck? Does that mean La Familia's going down?
I'm sure he had to get to the arena early just to get the vibe. Mind right before the game.
You know what? And I hope he brought his boxing gloves in case another fight breaks out. Don't want to get caught in one of those.
I was in Lexington this morning. I was telling Mario, the only thing I want from you is to come home tonight without a bloody nose. You do that. Tell him to stay away from the handshake line. Just don't go on the handshake line. You'll be good.
Well, this has been a fun episode, one that was a lot more newsworthy than we initially anticipated. We appreciate you following along. Appreciate you subscribing to KSR Plus. And make sure you subscribe to this channel, too. We're going to have a lot of stuff on Monday for UK Football Media Day. It's going to be a great time. We're fired up for football season to get here. Thanks for joining us. He's Adam Luckett. I'm Nick Roush. Go Cats and go Crow Green.